Hello, everybody. It's your favorite Jedi Master. It's David. Now, unfortunately, I have to issue a little tiny apology. Unfortunately, me and the Darth did a lot of bragging about how we have it all together. We've got the audio. It's nice and crispy. It's super great. And the Darth's audio went ahead and just corrupted. So what you will be hearing is my awesome audio and audio from the Zoom. So apologies. We definitely want to make sure that our audio quality is up to snuff. But for this one, Ghosts in the Machine got us. So next time we will definitely make sure that we live up to what we want it to be. But let's go ahead and get into the episode and enjoy our conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Well, man, we've done it. We have conquered technology. We have got we've got you with better audio than a Zoom. We did it last week. We didn't even have to use the backup audio.
Yeah, and you've already pretty much spent $500 on my mic because I'm going to upgrade this laptop as soon as possible.
Yeah, I had given the Darth an old laptop so that we can, basically Dropbox each other the audio file, which is interesting because, you were a pretty technological kid, growing up, the games, and you had your desktop that you were doing all that stuff with. But for a while now, at least a year or so, you have not had a computer. And in this day and age, some people would think that is just weird, man.
And I completely understand that. I'm just going to level with all of our audience. I'm a weird person. I will go through these phases where I just deprive myself of everything, and I really don't know. I will just live in the worst conditions possible and just bottle it all up and say, this is fine. That one meme where you're on fire. This is fine.
It's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
It's all for a total goal that's important, but it is time to treat myself a little better. Everyone tells me that too. It's like, why don't you buy yourself things? Like, I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what you're going to do with it. Obviously, I do a lot of editing, so I have a decent computer for me to be able to do that. But
I guess my biggest fear is I'm going to go out and buy myself a nice computer and I get so obsessed with gaming on it again and all that stuff. And
did you do much of the online game, like the PC gaming?
I did with Skyrim for the mods. I probably put more hours into Skyrim on my desktop than I did on my Xbox.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember when they dropped mods on Skyrim, the PS4 version of Skyrim. And obviously, that's nothing compared to the mods that are present on the computer. But it was still really kind of cool to do different things in there. Because, Skyrim was always so big, but now it's it's a little bigger. And I have a God Ring now. God Ring, killing everything.
Oh, no. For me, Skyrim was kind of already perfect the way it was. I didn't want to change a whole lot, but I like the fact that I could get all these mods that dealt with all the glitches.
Yep.
Everything and all prettier. So as time went on and you expected more out of consoles, your game was still beautiful.
Well, that was the first thing. The first things that I did was the sort of graphical sort of update, lightening the colors, different change in season stuff that they did. And again, these are independent people who are making these patches. That's a level above, man.
No, they're not really. I think a lot of them do it in the hopes to be noticed by a big developer.
Yeah.
And there's been quite a few that have been picked up because of Skyrim. They've made a career out of just making mods.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, man, we're conquering technology one piece at a time, and here before too long, who knows?
You're soon building a Starlight Beacon.
we'll be on Starlight Beacon. Oh man, well, So another week's gone. Obviously, last week we had talked about, Light of the Jedi. I can't remember anything. And very soon, buddy, we are going to be getting into the next in the series, which was, wow, I don't remember now.
I already have it downloaded. I just can't.
Yeah, I have it. I have it pre-ordered too. And
one of them's already. We have 3 that are already out.
I'll find it, but I actually. Oh yeah, Into the Dark. I had that on the tip of my tongue too. So Into the Dark, and that's the Claudia Gray book. So that's February 2nd. But I actually did order the book. So I ordered a copy of Light of the Jedi. I ordered this. What we're going to talk about today is A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland, and I also then pre-ordered Into the Dark because where I ordered the books from, if I ordered, so-and-so dollars, which just happened to be under for the 2 books, I got free shipping. So I also pre-ordered Into the Dark so I could get free shipping.
For all of our Audible listeners, they do have the credit deal going back on. It's like $34, something like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, that's you can't beat that.
No, and in general, Mark Thompson is pretty much the king of Star Wars literature. Let's see, who was our narrator for this one? I
believe she was narrator for
Keeler Lay. Jeez, I'm really terrible. I don't remember this name. Let me look this up a little further and see if I remember this name. I don't think that we have had anything else from her or that we would have ran into. Doesn't look like it. Oh, wow. She's done a lot of narrating for like Minecraft books.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know the thing.
I didn't. But she has. She's done a couple of things. I would think that this is probably the highest profile. I mean, I don't know a lot of these other books. It looks like mainly like younger reader. This one's called Tattooed Teardrops. A scrying shame, and I'm not mispronouncing that. It is literally like a crying shame, but instead of crying, it is with an S. So scrying shame. Sorry, I'm not making fun of anybody. It's
are we talking about a D&D prison?
I have no idea, bro. But anyway, Justina Ireland, we've had her in the past. What was so she did some of the one of the Journey to Star Wars books for the Rise of Skywalker, Spark of the Resistance, Lando's Luck. I remember that one, and is that it?
I'm looking her up right now on old Wikipedia. So
I have it on here. I mean, I thought she did one other. No, it was Lando's Luck that I'm remembering her from then. But anyway, yeah. So she's done a couple of Star Wars books. She doesn't have a huge library yet. But she does have some writing credits to her name, and she seems to be pretty entrenched in our Star Wars universe. Yeah, she's written 7 books.
And she will write 2 more in the High Republic era as well. We'll have Out of the Shadows and The Edge of Balance.
Nice.
Through her.
Yeah, very good. So good on you, Justina. I actually have to say, before we get too terribly into our review, because I still want to ask how your week's been in a minute, I actually thought this was a decent enough little story. Like, I actually kind of enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, for 3-hour runtime, it was a nice little entertaining story. Every once in a while, it's kind of fun to listen to these young adult novels again, and reminisce on how much they meant to us back in the day.
Well, it was like an open and closed story. It's like, here's your opening, but we're also going to close this up here.
A lot of characters that we're going to see again necessarily, but it's it's just filling out little gaps in between. Like Light of the Jedi is kind of our jumping off point, and these are all just little stories filling in the gaps in between, which is kind of cool.
For sure. Well, anyway, bud. So let's just get this little council out of the way too. So, how's your week been?
Been the worst weekend. Nah, it's been all right. I took yesterday off. Felt like having a little me time and
a little you time. That's cute.
Little time just to relax around the house and enjoying myself. I'm just so awesome to be around. Just raced everyone in the house with me being home.
It's good. It's good times, man.
No, this week just kind of feels like a blur. Truthfully, I don't remember much interesting going on. So,
yeah. I mean, it's another kind of quarantine week. My neighbor, he's an older guy, real nice. I usually wind up like shoveling our driveways and everything so that he can get out, and he's had some health stuff go on, so he hasn't really been able to do much outside. But the other day I was bringing in the trash cans. He's like, "Hey, do you want some sausage?" I was like, "Don't make this weird." No, but he had been to the like the VFW hall, and they gave away a bunch of like Bob Evans sausage, like rolls of sausage, which is actually pretty good. But they like gave him like a full freezer. He's like, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this." It's like, I'll take a couple of bricks of it. I'll make some breakfast sausage. That's cool. So I got some sausage. That was fun. You know what? I got to tell you, I've been playing a lot of guitar this week. I got a really, really cool pedal, and it is a reverb pedal. And it sounds like you are in a cave, like a dark, damp cave with those little trickling sounds and like a rock skipping across like other rocks. It's actually one of the coolest ambient things I've ever played with. And I bought it because it was so cheap, and I was like, and I knew that I could sell it for more if I wanted to. I don't think I can get rid of it now because it is awesome. So I've actually been playing some guitar and making a little music, and also I jumped back into Stardew Valley, and I've been Stardew Valleying. What about Animal Crossing? No. I like that game. It's fun. It's simple, but it's fun. Oh, and I bought a rowing machine.
Sorry, what?
I bought a rowing machine.
Oh, really?
Not a super expensive one, but yeah, I got a rowing machine. So I actually did a lot more this week than what I thought I did.
Where did you get that?
Yeah, good times. So when I joined the crew team at Harvard or Yale or whatever, I'll be ready to row with all the boys. Yeah. Play some water polo on my off days.
I'll tell you what, though, if you really like Stardew Valley, you need to try Animal Crossing.
I've heard a lot of people say that. It just looks so cartoony. And Stardew, I like Stardew's kind of like, 16-bit looking kind of aesthetic, and it actually has like a cool little soundtrack, and you've got a lot to do. Like there's actually a lot you can do. It's like when it rains during the summer, that's when I go to the mine and like do that stuff because I don't have to water my crops. But the winter I don't have crops, so I'm like taking care of my chickens or something and smelting ore or like making friends with the villagers and so forth. Buttering up with presents. It's like, hey, Mayor, here's a nice diamond. I heard you liked it. So, maybe you look the other way when I, put a new crop in. Got to get that heart.
Crop?
No, I don't know. Whatever's at the seed store.
Yeah.
It's super simple. I just don't know if I want to do Animal Crossing or not. I don't really play that many games, so
it's just one of those games. Like, if you had your own farm and you just had a ton of things to do, it'd be awesome. But this allows you to do that in real life. It's like, okay, I've got about 30 little tasks that take me 10 minutes to do every day. I should do them every day. but I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't take that amount of time.
Jeez.
But it's like a chore list. It's not even like fun gameplay. It's like a chore list with those kind of games. But it's so soothing. It's like it's easier to build a routine in those games than it is in real life. So you feel like you're winning.
Yeah, okay. Virtually winning. Got it.
And I feel like Stardew is kind of the same way, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. But, there's like a wizard.
Right. Well, I had a talking snowman over Christmas, so.
Sick.
Follow him around. It's kind of creepy, actually. Frosty, you get back. I will take this hairdryer to you and help you.
Jeez. Terrible, man. Terrible. Well, I think we can go ahead and start moving into the crux of the matter here. Now, I did say we were going to talk about Test of Courage, but we're also going to take a look at the first issue of the Star Wars High Republic comic series. This actually came out. Did it come out when these? I think it came out like around the time these books came out.
Yeah.
And we were going to talk about it last week, but our discussion wound up being pretty long.
Yeah. We didn't need to fill any more gaps. It was a long, probably one of the longest we've done, actually.
Yeah, I would say so. So I think let's go. Let's go ahead and do the comic first. What do you think? Yeah. You think that works?
Yeah.
All right. So this should run by pretty quick, honestly, because it's a comic. There's not a ton of content here. So I don't know that I looked up how many issues this was going to have. It only featured 4 in the very end of this comic, but we follow our Padawan here, actually Skier's Padawan, and I think we're calling her just Keeve, right?
Yeah, I would say Keeve.
Okay,
we're probably, that's fine.
Well, Keeve is pretty BA looking, honestly. She's got a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah, which is always a win for me.
And it's green. So
I've noticed something that every bit of artwork for the High Republic focuses so much on the lightsaber designs compared to everything we've seen the past few years. I really appreciate that.
Well, honestly, even the Test of Courage artwork, it's very front and center. Mm-hmm. And the funniest thing is, I don't remember if I said this when High Republic was just coming out, but I actually thought the Light of the Jedi cover and then the subsequent cover were kind of bland looking, but the Test of Courage is, it's obviously a little bit more comic booky, but it looks more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And then when you put that up against a comic book cover, dude, comic book covers are meant to catch your attention. All right.
Oh yeah.
So you've got 2 twin guys, which we didn't even see in this comic, did we?
No.
It's here are the creepy. What are those? Never mind. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm trying to think of because they were like the director twins that did the Matrix, and then there were those Daft Punk twins or whatever. Was that Daft Punk or was that another one? I don't remember.
Anyway. No, it was Daft Punk. Yeah.
There you go.
With their masks.
Yeah, good times. Tron. It's great. So anyway, we pick up with Keeve, who's going through her trials, and this is something that we don't ever see. Really, the trials being done.
Yeah, we've always talked about it through Obi-Wan and everyone else. But,
I'm ready to take the trials.
And I don't think we even really knew everybody's trial is different.
Yeah.
Not a set of trials in this. It's not like Tomb Raider. Okay, you got to go through this area and figure out all these puzzles. No, everyone gets their own curated trial from their master.
Exactly. So we do have the, what do we want to call these? A Zimpy?
Sure.
Little fairy flying goblins.
It's like the little mechanic dude from Rise.
Oh, good call. Yeah. Yeah, good call. So we have one of these Keeve Canry, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Canry, who's annoying Keeve here as she's making her way through this planet. And she is attacked by Skier with his one arm. The artwork in here does make me laugh a little bit when he's like first leaping out of this bush and his like little mouth's open and everything, and his one arm, and it kind of made me chuckle. So they actually have a bit of a battle here, and despite what Skier might say, Keeve basically like bested him. I mean, she definitely bested him there. And then he sets her a task, which is kind of an oddball task. But we have this just called the needles. Mm-hmm. These needles have stood for millennia. Like, there's a medallion up there. Go get it, but don't fall. If you fall, you're not a Jedi anymore.
I thought you said no one's climbed it. I said most people fail climbing. I climbed it with one arm. You should be able to.
I totally got up there and didn't use one of these little fairy guys to go carry it up there for me with my one arm. It's like, okay. And
I didn't just jump out of my ship on top of one.
Well, and then she then proceeds to like break like a couple of the needles, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, okay, stood for millennia, whatever. And then we get like the real conflict here where we have these insects that just rip through all the needles. So needles stood for millennia, bugs.
Insects win every time.
Yes. And then here's an interesting thing. We actually see Starlight Beacon.
Yeah. And this is right before Avar is actually, crowned the ruler of Starlight Beacon.
Yes. The
Marshal, I think is what they call her.
Cara Dune. She will be crowned Cara Dune, Marshal Avar Kriss. So Kriss is looking for Skier, and she kind of senses that there's something off with him ever since the disaster, the battle.
Right.
And she does sort of sense, though, that it doesn't really have anything to do with the death of Master Molly, which, okay, but
it does.
Well, here's the thing. We got a little bit of teaser stuff that Skier might be hiding something, like a secret. I don't know what that is, but I think judging by some of the other conceptual art for these comics, we're going to figure that out pretty soon in this comic, which I find to be very interesting. But let's go ahead and go forward because we get the man himself. You didn't want to say it?
Grand Master that isn't Yoda? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, Grand Master Vetter.
You have two Grand Masters. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of the term grand?
Nope, they're just grand. They're a couple of grandpas. So yeah, we get this Grand Master Vetter and Yoda showing up to Starlight Beacon. Yoda doesn't look very happy.
No.
He doesn't look happy at all. And continues to say he's not back with the council. He's walking his own path. And Avar kind of has a bit of a thought like, oh, they're going to put me on the council. And instead they offer her Starlight Beacon to be the Marshal of Starlight Beacon, which we kind of got in Light of the Jedi. Like we kind of got that was sort of where things were falling into place. So there you go. Avar Kriss, Starlight Beacon, Marshal, Cara Dune.
By the way, just with the art style and everything, doesn't she just seem so BA in this comic? I mean, she's just awesome to me.
Yeah, I think that it's not necessarily a problem with Light of the Jedi, but it is a consideration that it was all over the place. Like there was so much going on and I think we even talked about this. It would have been cool to have just followed Avar around. I don't know. And just like, just stayed with her and just saw her perspective of how all this was going, and her and Elzar Mann specifically, because they were both very interesting characters. But yeah, I really hope for more, like just more centered around her as opposed to just being sort of like part of the story, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So anyway, let's get back to Keeve here. She's jumping from bug to bug. And also cool, we get to see a Vector.
Yeah. Yeah. Not at all how it was described in Light of the Jedi, I feel. Like I didn't have nearly the same picture of the Vector through Light of the Jedi.
No, I didn't either. For some reason, I just kind of thought of it as like, well, almost like an A-wing or something like that.
Yeah, really boxy, you know?
Yeah, just probably, more boxy than an A-wing, a little bit less like a George Jetson kind of thing.
Yeah.
Jedi, no, I mean, we're the Jedi. That's the wrong theme song, by the way, but whatever.
I mean, you could kind of take this as a part of the evolutionary path that got us to the X-Wing almost. I mean, it's
yeah. Let's continue on here. So Keeve actually sort of figures out through kind of a communion with these bugs. She has her, I'm trying to think like almost like a Scarlet Witch moment here where she's, I'm one with everything.
I'm a locust.
Well, these are space-faring creatures, kind of like our space whales. And they were misdirected to this planet because of the frequency of Starlight Beacon. And I think the one interesting thing about this comic is that, to me, is that.
Yeah.
Because Starlight Beacon is so new, and obviously it's not in the rest of canon because it was only conceptualized for this, but it makes you wonder how long it's even going to be around. Like, is it going to cause more problems than what it solves?
Mm-hmm. Or is it going to be destroyed?
It might blow up. Well, let's put it this way. Keeve's pretty BA. She redirects the bugs, rebuilds the Simpy village.
Yeah.
And is confronted by the ever comically drawn face of Skier. Is he disappointed? Is he not?
Is there a single picture of Skier other than walking away where it's not super zoomed in, by the way? Because I don't think it really is.
I just I just think it's just funny. Oh, okay, one thing. What's up with this cursing stuff? Like, I know it's like made up words for this, but what is up with that? Like, you're going to create this character, but for some reason you are going to put her in front of Avar Kriss, New Marshal Starlight Beacon, Jedi Master, and you are going to have her utter some sort of curse words in front of her. It's like, listen, I know we like to bring in flaws, but that seemed a little bit crass to me.
Yeah, and honestly, the entire interaction, even what Avar says, just stop it. Seriously.
Yeah, are you done?
Word.
it was weird. And then again, I have an interesting sort of take on some of this knighting of Jedi. By the way, Keeve gets knighted. She is a knight at the end of this comic.
Yeah, that little Padawan braid gets cut off.
Yeah. Do you think they're promoting people too fast?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell right now because we haven't been with these characters very long. They're of the age to be knighted, but it just seems like we've seen it happen a lot very quickly, and maybe we're just watching the most exceptional Padawans right now, but it does seem a little forced, you didn't really do something so major to get knighted. I don't feel like what happened in this comic was really...
Well, see,
I don't know.
I actually disagree. I think what she did was actually really pretty spectacular. And the only reason I say that is because depending on who you are, you could have just tried to slay all of them.
True.
Instead, she communed, figured out the problem, and created a solution so that they would be okay and live, but also not destroy the planet. My whole thing is there are obviously certain things that she is just like, she's awkward about. And it's like, those are the kind of things, it's like, maybe getting there to this Jedi point is where you're really ironing out all of these little idiosyncrasies. Or maybe that's more the Master's path. Maybe they're a little bit more forgiving at that Jedi Knight level. Because I'm going to tell you this, like, I mean, even Obi-Wan, I mean, he was a Padawan for
long
time.
What, 18, 19, something like that?
He was for a long time. It's like, I know some of that was sort of Qui-Gon, but kind of feels like he probably should have been knighted way before he was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Vernestra. She's 15 and she's a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
You know, kind of ridiculous. And when you think about it,
yeah,
whether they're great or not, I mean, why are you rushing that process?
Yeah.
And one, I'll say, you know, mentioning the cussing and everything, there was one thing that I found pretty funny when she's talking about changing the frequency so it won't mess with Starlight or these creatures. I forget who it is that talks to her. It's like, okay, so you want me to change it so they don't follow the beacon? Like, you want me to change the frequency? It's like, no, I want you to play jazz.
Yeah. Now, there is a little tidbit here as they're doing the dedication ceremony and everybody, yeah, for the light, yeah, bzz, 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 and, you know, all that good stuff.
Super goofy in Light of the Jedi when we read that. I'm sorry, that was really cheesy. So
it's very true. However, during this, there's some green boxes, which are inner dialogue for Kiev, where she is basically running through this. It's like, you know what? I think Master Skier actually like orchestrated all this. So then it kind of makes you wonder, did he screw with the frequencies to make this happen? Or did the Force just tell him that this was going to happen and you guys are going to have to fix it type of deal? But let's just say that it seems like some of that was orchestrated. How it was orchestrated is a little ambiguous. But hey, she passed.
Yeah. To me, it kind of gives off the vibe of these things, and it's kind of starting to mess with him.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Because we've already seen this with Elzar, so, I mean, maybe there's going to be multiple Jedi Masters who start getting these visions of terrible things. I mean, see that at the end of this comic as well.
Yeah, and that's the last couple panels is Skier going back to, I guess, his quarters and no.
I mean, wait, no.
Well, this is the thing, because around the same time is when Elzar Man has his vision.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think Skier did see something, if not the same, but similar to what Elzar did. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this is. I mean, but how it's going to affect Skier and how it's going to affect Man might be two very different things.
Yeah, and I think we're probably going to see a third Jedi have the same thing happen in the next book. Agreed. I would assume. If that happens, there's no question it would be a terrible Force something.
Yeah.
Coming to attack or destroy the Starlight Beacon or kill off a few of the Masters, you know.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
And of course, the new era of Star Wars, we do have to always be aware of the fact that we need a super destructive mega weapon because it happens in every era. So maybe that's what we're sensing.
Lena So is just sitting back on Coruscant. Yes, unveil my newest weapon, Starlight Beacon, to destroy everything in the Outer Rim. So the cats will reign supreme.
It's all powered by my two cats. Would you like to have me describe my cats yet again?
My greatest work is to eradicate the Outer Rim.
We are not all the Republic. I don't like the Outer Rim.
I am the Republic. Oh, well.
Senators in the background, both like, yeah, but you're not the Senate.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. Well, you ready to get in a test of courage?
Sure.
Okay. So test of courage.
Could have almost listened to this book every day at work. That's how short it is.
It is very short. Very short. About 3.5 hours in the audiobook. I wonder how many pages this is. They did bound this like a little kid's book. 229 pages, but they're like really, this probably would have been like maybe half that in a real, I mean, here, you guys at home can't see it, but this is it's bound like a little kid's book.
Probably really big print too. Like,
yes. I mean, sort of. It's bigger than most books. It's nicely done though. Does it have any pictures? I see some golden pages. I bet they're pictures. No pictures, just dividers. Dang it. No pictures. Oh no, there are pictures. Oh, there are pictures. Concept art. It's great. All right. I'm going to stop messing around. Let's get into the story. So we start here really with Vernester. What was her last name? Rowe?
Yeah, Rowe.
Yeah. We haven't heard that last name in a while, which coincidentally, we're going to talk about last names a little bit, but let's just ease on through here. So Vernester Rowe is a super Padawan, right? Mary Allen. A lot of people call her Vern, even though she doesn't really like that. Her master was Stellan Gios, who I don't want to speak for you. I'll speak for myself. Who I need to know more about, because he's effectively part of this whole trio with Elzar and Avar Chris, and we will hear more about him. But recently promoted, she was what 15? Is that how old she was?
Yep.
So young, 15, 16 years old, youngest Jedi in a very long time who has made the rank of knight at that age. So she is given a mission to protect Ivan Staros, who is a daughter of Senator Staros. Do you remember the Staros name by any chance?
Should I?
Yeah, because there was a little character called Sana Staros who we were thinking a little bit about when she was in the Afra books. She also claimed at one time to be Han Solo's wife when they did a job, and she wasn't. But yeah.
Kind of interested to see if we get the link for that. Obviously, I mean, like this is her great grandmother or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, the thing is their descriptions match.
Yeah.
I mean, they look very similar, and I think that is kind of like the line that falls down to Sana. And again, like when we had that Dr. Aphra audio drama, I actually was kind of like, I want to know more about her than I want to know about Aphra.
And Aphra, yeah, me too.
Yeah. So Senator Staros seems to be pretty high up, like very connected to the Chancellor. So I would say that her daughter is pretty high priority, which is why she has a Jedi Knight to protect her and see her on to Starlight Beacon. Along with our Jedi Knight, we also have J6, another annoying, self-aware droid.
I don't even want to say that's become a trend at this point, because I just feel like if we really look back, there's always been self-aware droids. I mean, even 3PO to an extent kind of is aware of his surroundings and everything going on, and is a bit rebellious. But I don't know. How did you feel about this droid compared to?
He's annoying. I mean, it's just it got old. Like I'm fine and I understand, but like, so the whole thing is that Ivan Staros is like kind of a an inventor, a tinkerer, very, very smart for her age. And she tinkered with J6's like programming to almost, well, basically to make it so that J6 can kind of pick her path type of deal.
And yeah, basically autonomize and I'm just gonna do this now,
So, but I mean, it's snarky. I don't know. It
gets boring.
It gets boring. Yeah. But, well, even Yvonne in a way, she's kind of immature and mature at the same time. Like she knows when to turn it on and off, but
she's immature, but at the same time, she's also so logical that she really can't relate to people very well.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit too far advanced for her age.
Yeah, I mean, you see that quite a bit when she's acting with honesty and can't really relate to. Oh, you just lost your father, but
well, we're getting way ahead there, so let's hold on just a little bit.
Obviously, this is a spoiler.
No, I know, but I don't want to jump crazy. But well, let's go over the major characters. So we have Avon. We've got Vern. So you mentioned honesty, which is I'm sorry,
it's name ever.
Honesty Weft, who is from Delnan. His father was an ambassador from the planet. And he is kind of like I don't know. I don't really know how to describe. He was kind of like, for me, he was just kind of like a blah character. I didn't really care about him all that much.
And it really made you not like his people all that much either. Just learning more about him. It's like, oh, we don't really like dealing with this. We don't like chaos. We try to avoid it. It's like, okay, well, trying to avoid flying and chaos and everything, you're in a galactic republic, you're just trying to hide from it.
Well, it seems like they've had some trouble just as a race with war and everything. And they have this thing called the metamorphosis, which is basically where they are choosing effectively their life job. It seems to be kind of a bit of a closed-minded society.
Fair. Like a career fair at school.
Yeah, kind of like that. But I guess Honesty is missing his metamorphosis to go to Starlight Beacon with his father, and his parents feel that it's valuable. He doesn't really see the value in it, but he's kind of thrown into this adventure. And then we also have another Padawan, Amari Kantaros, or Emery Kantaros, whatever. The spelling's kind of interesting. But he...
I just go based off of how they pronounce it.
Yeah, I just can't always remember. But his master has potentially one of the just white-breadest names in the world. Douglas. Sunvale. Douglas Sunvale. Who, to be honest with you, from the reading... I actually was starting to not really care for him because of the way it was read. And it almost makes me wonder if the narrator didn't really believe in that character at all.
Yeah, I would agree. It didn't really bother me much when we lost him. I hate to say it. I mean...
Well, I think his sacrifice was, and he unfortunately did sacrifice himself. We'll get into some events here, but like he did sacrifice himself. So like I get it, but just the initial reads just made me think of like kind of like a overblown pompous dude who's just skating through stuff. But he wasn't really that. So I'll be honest with you, no disrespect to the narrator, I think she read that character wrong.
I would agree. Yeah,
I think she had the wrong take on him. But Emery was Master Douglas or Master Sunvale. They should be Master Sunvale, not Master Douglas, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. It was his Padawan. So we open up on this ship, Pleasure Liner, and
Steady Wing.
Yeah, there you go. We have a couple ambassadors. And Vaughn and all these characters and so forth, and they're all heading to Starlight Beacon. Well, we also at the very beginning learn that the Nihil are coming to sabotage this ship. And these are Nihil under Kosov, Milico.
Which gives us a timeline, obviously. It's well before the emergencies are over and we lose them. So
yeah, exactly. So this would have been, kind of during the blockade type of deal. Yeah. So we have these Nihil, and they are, I pulled them up here. Let me go ahead and find the tab. Clineth Da and Gwishy.
Wishy? Okay.
Who's an Aqualish. Gwishy and Clineth Da. Clineth likes piercings. That's what I got out of it.
Was that a thing before this book? Like, is that piercing style a thing?
I don't know.
I don't want to know, honestly.
Don't want to know either. So they sabotage the ship. They sabotage the escape pods. They create explosions. And the majority of our characters are in the kind of like a dining hall. And we have this explosion. It rips apart the canopy. Vacuum of space is coming in. Vern is able to get the blast doors to close. They were lodged with a chair. And I gotta say,
the chair somehow is not being destroyed by a blast door that's trying to close. Okay.
Well, my whole thing is like, how would you have taken care of that? Would you have flown at it with your lightsaber, or would you just like try to grab it with the Force and crush it?
I guess it just depends on how much of the Force I'm using just to stay in place. Like, could I
guess
accomplish both? I guess it's the most flair you could possibly pull off doing it that way. Cool.
Do a backflip when you're going back down. It's great.
I cut myself off from the Force, which allowed me to cut a chair and close the blast.
I guess. Well, anyway, Vern is able to close that, but they do attempt to get to the pods. Now, an interesting thing here is that Master Douglas actually really does seem to trust Vernestra. Like, she's take the lead. Go do that. I'll hold everybody down. So like he seems to really trust her, which is cool because we get some dialogue with her where she's not 100% like, I don't think she's even 100% like,
yeah, she's not
confident in herself.
Yeah. And poor Emery points that out. It's like, I'm his trusted Padawan. Why didn't you trust me to lead?
Yeah. Well, let's continue down. They're going through the corridors. They figure out the escape pods are sabotaged and gone in a lot of cases. And essentially we get to the point where a bulkhead closes and Master Douglas pushes the kids forward. Unfortunately, our ambassadors, including Honesty's father and Master Douglas, are trapped. And they do perish, which I thought was a little heavy for a kid's book.
It was, especially the way they said it.
Yeah. Vernestra was able to get the kids to a maintenance ship or shuttle, and they are able to leave. And the ship explodes. Like, it kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, High Republic is mostly about killing people, I think.
The ship explosions. They really like some reason. That's wild. Like 95% of deaths so far in High Republic.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we learned that the ship also has problems. It's got no navigation. And we happen to hear another phrase that we haven't heard in a little while. Emery's going to try wayfinding.
Yeah. And Vernestra even calls him out. It's like, that's something that even masters struggle on. So how are you going to do this?
Well, all I'm saying is that we hadn't even really heard much about that until literally The Rise of Skywalker. And it was a wayfinder. It wasn't Jedi doing wayfinding.
Yeah. It's more like a rare ability once in a generation kind of thing. And now it's just like, oh yeah, some random Padawan who kind of sucks as a Padawan is going to do it. He's just going to try. He's never done it before. He's just going to try.
Well, hey, guess what? They make it to a moon.
Yeah.
The moon of Weevo. Where they make friends with the local monkeys.
Yes.
Monkey creatures.
Some Some of them are not their friends.
Here's another name, Cheery. And if you remember from Black Spire, Cheery. I wonder if that was a callback. Had to have been, right?
Must have.
Well, this moon kind of sucks. It's got like acid rain and
it's got the most stupid life cycle. It rains down acid, which kills everything on the planet as well, destroys the local fauna, but then it regrows very quickly and produces these fruit that give you water.
Yeah, that was odd. You know what? It reminds me of that stupid, I don't want to say stupid, but that game. What is that? Was it Death Stranding with Norman Reedus?
I never even looked into Death Stranding, so I don't even.
Well, in that game, it's not acid rain; it's time rain. It makes you get older if it touches you.
Okay.
And then there's like babies that they have tied up to them, and then there's like tar creatures and music, weird music. It's a weird game.
You've never stopped making Metal Gear.
I mean, well, that was creative, but the thing is, I just remember watching some playthrough, and like. It's like a ton of fetch quests. You just pick up boxes and deliver them because that's what you are. You're like a courier. I just remember so they're doing this, they're running, they're doing their thing, and all of a sudden this song just starts playing. And the song was like the chorus was, "Don't be so serious." That's like, what the hell is going on in this game, man? What is this?
Every time it rained, I'd get older. I'd be pretty serious,
Don't be so serious. The rain will only kill you pretty quick. It's like, what? Okay, anyway, back to Star Wars. You know, I'll be honest with you. I don't find a lot to talk about while they're on the moon, if I'm just being honest about it.
Well, no, there really isn't a whole lot. They're just kind of in survival mode, and there's a lot of talking of emotions, especially for Honesty and Emery. I mean, they're a wreck.
Well, there's a lot of hugs and so forth, and like I do find one thing interesting. They are able to share amongst each other in a way. Whereas in most of the times we see people internalize all of their emotions and make it really bad. Now, Honesty, on the other hand, because of the way his race is, kind of like a warrior culture at that point, he does bury a lot of things, but he is holding a lot of anger. And this is something that affects Emery as well, because he is starting to get jealous of Vernestra.
Extremely.
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, he kind of turns to the dark side here a little bit.
Yeah.
And this all coincides with also reintroducing our Nihil. Because they had to ensure that nobody survived, and somehow they figured out that these kids survived. So...
It might have something to do with Vernestra destroying their ship with a rock.
Well, that was Emery. Emery did that.
Did Emery Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I don't put to get it out of the way, but Emery was the one that kind of,
Well, there was this whole part of them clearing terrain. Like they were trying to clear terrain, and we figure out that Vernestra has a light whip.
Yeah.
Which Emery points out, the Night Sisters had light whips. Light whips.
Let's just kind of talk about that a little bit. So we have all these things going on. We have Vernestra scared to death to show her whip to these people, which I didn't personally understand. Her whole hang up is like, if Emery sees me using this, it might make him question things, and then he might turn to the dark side, even though I can already Sensei is turning to the dark side, and it might confuse the others. Like, okay, why?
Yeah, it just winds up being that Emery is he's just kind of a weak character. Like, he's just weak.
Even to the point where he messes up his lightsaber, and now it can barely cut through. It's a machete, essentially. And it can cut through the fauna. That's it.
Well, here's the thing, though. His lightsaber was messed up even before all this, so he's been having problems even when he had his master.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. Based on what you hear from the master, he really doesn't help all that much, truthfully. He's just like, Oh, you'll figure it out. Just keep taking it apart and putting it back together. You'll get it.
Well, and I gotta say, like, I kind of wonder about that because, like, it all depends on your philosophy and teaching, doesn't it? Like, for me, I manage people, but I tend to reward the people who figure out things on their own because at the end of the day, everyone's an adult and they should be able to figure this stuff out. However, I will drop hints and I'll drop knowledge and so forth, but I really want you to do the work because that's your job.
The manager, you're not supposed to be the one doing the work.
Yeah. But the thing is that, I mean, this is a kid.
Yeah.
And he's obviously very confused.
Certainly.
Yeah. But in combination, he's got this ultra empathy too.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason, in my opinion, why the dark side was able to get a better grip was because he felt the anger so violently from honesty. And he drew on that. And that was the thing. It's like he wanted to go attack the Nihil, like make them pay.
Yeah.
And he woke up honesty and said, hey, man, I need you to come. He didn't need him to come because he needed him there. He didn't need his blaster. He needed his anger. He needed to draw off of this person's anger, which is something that we see again and again with the Sith. Their thing is they actually draw in battle. They'll draw off of the emotions of their opponent, and that's why I think it was in Revan where we had the Sith that was aiding them when they were fighting the machines. Do you remember that part? They were fighting some mechanicals, or it was in the very beginning. I saw if it was that book or it was another one. Anyway, I'm mixing up things, but I just remember we had this Sith encounter with machines, and he was having trouble with the machines because he couldn't draw off any emotion because they're a machine. They don't have emotion. And that's in some ways what made a lot of those ancient Sith rather weak. However, they could draw the fear from the Jedi too, because, Sith Jedi, fear's always there. So, but yeah, I agree with the whip thing. I thought that was a little janky.
Yeah. Well, it's like, she even mentioned it's like, one wrong move and lop an arm off. It's like you realize in battles with whips, they do tend to kind of roll off the body of the user a bit, and like they will strike you to some extent. So it's really impractical as a lightsaber.
I think it would take a lot of control.
Yeah, and just kind of going through that, it's like no amount of effort you're going to cut through a limb. We kind of didn't mention this in the comic. I kind of want to bring this up. So at one point, Keeve's, climbing the spires, these little needles, and she starts to fall. And her way of dealing with that is she stabs one of these needles. And we talked about this, coming. She stabs one of the needles and keeps sliding down, but it eventually slows her to a point where she's impaling this needle. She's hanging off her lightsaber, and it's doing nothing.
It's not
Please explain how that works.
It's not quite how laser swords work, but
no,
yeah, agreed.
With no effort whatsoever, and you're hanging off it. You're putting your body weight on. So I don't know. That just bugs me. It's the same with the whip. It's going to hit you at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But hey, science fiction, not science fact. Well,
suspend disbelief.
Exactly. So let's continue our story a little bit here. So Emery and Honesty go off to fight the Nihil. I'm really feeling like I'm saying her name wrong. Avon or Avon. Do you remember exactly how they pronounce that?
They pronounce it Avon.
Avon? Okay. Avon. All right. So she sets up J6 to kind of like keep track of everybody. So they kind of know what's going on. And we also learn more about J6. We had known she was a former kind of like bodyguard droid in a protocol droid's body. So she's got extra arms and blasters and stuff. Well, they go to follow. And Skip we eventually get to a confrontation between Vernestra and Emery. Very interesting encounter. Very interesting encounter. Nothing that Emery does really affects Vernestra.
No. She's a super calm, cool, collected Jedi Knight who's well beyond her years and seems to have the training of like a 30, 40-year-old Jedi. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those Mary Sue things in a way, but at the same time, you care about this character. She's cool. I mean, she is. But you're pitting her against Emery, who's just this weak, super weak-minded, and as far as skill goes, pretty weak too character. So there was never any fear going into this battle. You knew how it was going to go.
Well, and I think that the Jedi of this time just have an absolute confidence in their tie to the light. It's really is moving through them. So to go up against this Padawan who has had his first sort of taste of the dark side, who's giving in anger that's not even his own, who's fighting his own nature, I don't think it has anything to do with like Mary suing. I just think that she has the high ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Emery just needs to be taught a lesson. And sometimes Padawan needs to be taught a lesson, and this is his lesson. And she breaks his saber. Which is very... That's a tough thing, man. To lose your saber.
It is. And it actually, when you think about it, for a Jedi to destroy a saber is a tough thing as well.
Yeah.
It is technically a living creature in a way, and you're kind of killing it by doing that.
Well, I think in a way it had to be done. I think that the conflict in Emery was translating to the crystal. Because the crystal and the Jedi are very, very intertwined.
Symbiotic in a way.
So I feel like it just had to be done. Start fresh kind of deal. Go back to the caves, find yourself another crystal, make a bond, do it again. Now we do get... Hold him on, man. Just can't knock it off. Mm-hmm. He steals that saber towards the end of the book.
And I don't think we really mentioned that she's kind of obsessed with kyber crystals. She really, really wants one.
I'll be honest with you. Like, there are times when I really like her, and then there are times where I don't. It's like, listen, even the inventor has to know when there's a boundary between right and wrong. The sad thing is a lot of the knowledge that we know of physical medicine was done at the expense of thousands of people. Mm-hmm. Some of the experiments that the Nazis did during World War II, I mean, are inhuman. They are the essence of evil, but a lot of the conclusions that they came to are things that we use today. Some of the things that happen. Well, anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. But the thing is that you have to know when there is a moral stopping point, and she doesn't have that, which makes me worry, because how far is she willing to go? A kyber crystal is not something you play with. It's not a toy. It's not a thing to be tinkered with by someone who doesn't understand the Force. And it makes me worry that she will cause some sort of catastrophe by inventing or trying to amplify this crystal, and something's going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you something else. Sana Starros isn't much of anyone in her time, which makes me wonder if Yvonne Starros is the one who is going to take down her house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes me worry.
Well, and that kind of brings up question, like, does that get linked into this story, into Starlight Beacon? Does she find something to use that Crystal 4 on the beacon that, kind of ruins the High Republic era?
Well, she's looking at it as a power source.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking at it in terms of powering something or just being a power source. That's not what that thing is.
No, because they make it very clear there's a battery in that lightsaber in this book.
Yeah. But I mean, it's an amplification for the Force in connection with the Jedi. It has nothing to do with generating power for a machine or some, building of man. It's just not for that. So I do kind of worry about that character and what she's potentially going to do once she starts tinkering. Okay. So I guess anything else we want to talk about the moon? Are we good to move on to the rescue?
Yeah, we're definitely good.
Okay. Well, they are rescued. Jedi come down, rescue them. Super sick. We wind up making it to Starlight Beacon. Honesty does seem to be sort of stepping into an ambassadorial type of role for his father. And you know what? Some of the ending of the book is getting a little fuzzy for me, so I'll talk about the one big thing that I feel is there, because we now have a Padawan without a master, without much hope, and we have Vernestra, who is this sort of prodigy. She winds up taking Emery as her Padawan.
How'd you feel about that, truthfully?
I thought it was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Vernestra is great, but like to think that she would be ready to take on a Padawan right now.
The guy's 2 years younger than her. Clearly, she's much more skilled and in tune with the Force. I get that, but I don't know. It kind of goes back to that thing. It's like, is she ready for all of this? Has she found her path so much that she can actually help someone else find theirs? And there is definitely a connection between the two characters near the end. They reconcile their differences. And, Emery does look up to her once again. But that is so heavy. I mean, that takes Obi-Wan and Anakin to a whole nother level. It really does.
Yeah, man. It
kind of makes you wonder if it's going to end in tragedy, truthfully.
Yeah. It sort of does. It makes me, I don't know. Maybe we're thinking about it a little bit too much in the lens of what we know, and not in the lens of a time where the Force is truly with everybody. And I also have to say, I had to look it up because what I was fuzzy about was the master who came to Vernestra, which was Skier.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost am starting to question his wisdom of leading her to take Emery as her Padawan. But the thing is like she's so well respected.
Master to begin with, so I wouldn't even say you should question it. I mean, he might not be that smart of a master.
Yeah,
he really does.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about how that's all going to pan out.
I feel like from the very small portion that we've gotten of High Republic so far, everything seems to be converging into tragedy. Like we're setting ourselves up for all this tragedy, death, destruction. I mean, is this the breaking point where they kind of stop communing with the light as much as they are? This is the time of Renaissance. They're all so in the Force, but do they start to neglect that? And this is where we get this fall into the Phantom Menace era, and we just see it devolve into that.
Yeah.
Where they just fall into it. They don't even realize what's happening.
True.
And all these little decisions, I mean, it might seem like a little decision now, but, death of 1,000 little cuts.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. I think there's a lot more to go, but it does. I think Vernestra is pretty cool. I wouldn't be unhappy with hearing more about her at all.
Yeah.
I worry about her path, and I worry about those who are guiding her on her path, and those that she will guide on their path. But that's kind of the book, isn't it?
It is. And one thing I'll say about this book, I was really happy that they didn't include it much. We don't get the tagline of we are all the Republic.
Yeah.
In some ways, how little this book repeated itself compared to Light of the Jedi, it's almost like, well, which one was the young adult novel?
Yeah.
I appreciated that quite a bit. I was worried that was going to be the big tagline for the entire series. We'd never hear the end of it. I would much rather have like Will of the Force be the tagline over that personally, because I feel like that's important, that's substantial.
Right.
But I really appreciated that quite a bit. I just felt like, I don't know, and that goes to the author, really. You can't blame the overarching story of the High Republic on that, though.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. So, in my opinion, nice little bowed story, wrapped up in a nice little bow and some good wrapping paper. And, it was nice. It was nice to just sort of jump into and have a little adventure.
We're going to get probably 2 characters out of this that we might hear from again, and the rest were really just for this story standalone, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yes, agreed.
Because I don't think we're going to see Honesty again, personally.
No. Highly doubt it. Avon would be kind of I don't know.
Maybe like pull her in to do something little and then throw her back.
Yeah.
In the corner.
Yeah, Vernestra, I think we're definitely going to hear from here and there. They do seem to, really highlight a lot of the interesting young people. So that's a good thing. So yeah, you want to just get right into giving it a rating?
Yeah.
Do out of 5?
I was going to ask that because I feel like if we go like out of 10, it's going to be a hard book to rate. Because
we'll just do out of 5.
So what's your opinion?
You know what? I am going to look up what the actual ratings have been first, because I'm interested in that. But I will give my opinion. Oh no. Okay. Interesting. So Barnes & Noble, 4 out of 5. Goodreads, 3.8 out of 5, which I actually give a little bit more credence to. However, Google users, only 40% of all Google users like the book.
Really?
Yeah, let's see what Amazon has. Amazon, out of 158 ratings, 4.1 out of 5. So average to midland sort of ratings.
40%, that is really hard to take. I mean, I don't get that.
Looks like some people are dogging the author in some of the Amazon ones. Woke Star Wars, generic Star Wars adventure. You're probably 50 years old, Tom Waters, reading a kid's book.
What do we mean by that?
So I'm not sure. Let me click on the Goodreads here real quick. Goodreads is I actually think is a little bit more reputable than some of the other ones. Let's yeah, like here's a 3-star. 16-year-old full Jedi Knight is a bit odd. Solid kids adventure just didn't really seem to. I think they're rating it like it's not a kid's book because they're talking. There's not enough philosophical action. It's like, well, it's a kid's book. 3-star review. Not exactly the target audience. That automatically disqualifies you. Yeah, I don't know. I think some of these are not taking this in the right context as being a kid's book. So okay, let me stop. Oh, here's a 1 star. That's what it is. Yep. Okay, that's based on the author. Yep, that's an author thing. Not to beat around the bush, Justina Ireland had some tweets that some people took I think they took the wrong way.
What were they?
I don't remember what they were off the top of my head, and you guys can all go figure that out on your own. But it was a Twitter thing, and there were a lot of people that got really offended. I think it had something to the effect of like, I don't know, don't read my book or something like that. I just think it was taken a little bit too literal. And there were a lot of people who just took it's the woke thing again, poking its head up. Well, this is too woke. You're too woke. You're trying to kill Star Wars. And then it's the other side. It's like, well, we need more of this and that. And it's not woke enough. And so there's never any middle ground. But I think a lot of the author hate just came from Twitter crap. And that's what it is. Twitter is crap. I still post there once a week when we have an episode up.
Won't think about it again for 6 days.
Yeah. Here's a 2-star. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know why they give it a 2-star. It said it was like a fun read.
It can't be a 2-star fun read.
Well, it said it was a fun read, but it's a forgettable read for a casual observer who's mildly okay, it's a forgettable read if you are a casual observer who is mildly interested in Star Wars.
I would argue that if your problem is that it's forgettable read, then it would be forgettable as a fan.
Yeah.
Sounds like the wrong people are reviewing it, in my opinion.
Well, I do think a lot of the low reviews I think are coming from problems with the author, personal issues with the author more so than with the actual content.
We're not really getting any reviews from young readers, and that's really where you should be getting your reviews from ultimately, because that's the target audience.
Yeah, it's like does the target audience like it? For sure.
It sparked them to want to know more about Star Wars, because that's the whole point of these books. They're emergence books. They're supposed to spring you into the lore, get you excited.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, geez, the Barnes & Noble was only actually 3 reviews. It's good times. Okay, stop stalling. I mean, the book itself, it is a young adult's book. I think that there are some adult themes in there that I wouldn't necessarily have pushed quite as hard as they did in this book. However, it does give you a nice little adventure with some young characters who have big personalities. I think at times some things can be a little bit try-hardy, some questionable try-hardy stuff. But overall, I think we have a really cool character in Vernestra. I think we have a mild redemption arc for Emery. Honesty, I could have cared less about. I thought he was just kind of a blah character. And Avon, to be honest with you, I'm not as high on her as potentially any of the other characters. So rating wise, I would say as a fun little adventure that you can just power through pretty quickly, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, 4 out of 5. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Fair enough. Mine's gonna be pretty similar. My biggest issue with this book, and this is a big issue I have with this theme in general, I don't like it when the character that ends up turning to the dark side is literally the weakest character in the room. Because I don't believe that that's the point of the allure of the dark side. I like it when I see either a Jedi Master or actually a potentially very strong Jedi fall, because that's the whole point of the dark side. It can easily grab anybody, not the weakest Padawan in the room. So I had an issue with that. Emery was just a bleh character to me, almost almost in line with honesty with me. Honestly, I really didn't care about him all that much. He went through some stuff. I felt bad for him, sure, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like they wrote him wrong, personally. The story in general was fine. It was a cool little story. I don't know. The Nihil were kind of bumbly, but that was fine. I mean, young adults, it's going to happen. So I would probably rate this. I'm going to give it a 3.9.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad story at all. I think anything below a 3.5 is getting into that bad range. It was fine, you know.
Yeah, it's an average book. I mean, I kind of considered going under 4, but again, I usually rate based upon how I enjoyed something, and I enjoyed myself. I didn't find myself hating anything. So
if it was any longer than it was, I probably would have hated the book.
I would actually agree. I think it was the right. I don't think it needed to be any longer. I think it was pretty much the right length for sure.
And I would almost say that there was spots where it was almost too long, like in between the explosion of the steady wing and actually getting onto the planet took a little bit longer than it really needed to, in my opinion.
I can see that.
Just kind of going through all the emotions and everything. So, yeah, I think it was about the right length.
All right. Well, good times, man. So another book down. We've got more to come. So we'll be
got one more now, and probably about another month until we see the next emergence of books.
Well, pretty soon. What was it? The 2nd or the 5th of February is our next book. We obviously, have a lot of stuff we're going through. We will be rolling back through New Jedi Order. What else did we have planned? Weren't we talking also about, what else were we talking about? I'll have to go back and look at our list. I think I had one more on the list after this.
But we have one more High Republic, and then we're going to get back into Jedi Order, but we've kind of got this, gap right now. We're waiting for more content of some kind, whether it be the comics or anything. So really, it's a time where if any of you guys have any suggestions, anything, it'd be a cool time to start some new content, maybe get some character bios going or reviews of certain stories, any books you can suggest, getting back into stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, I had a pretty good time talking about New Jedi Order, so we will certainly get back into that. You know what? I'll tell you, and this is like live planning. I think what we really need to do is get into a comic book line. I think we need to do a comic show because we've got Vader, we've got Afro, we've got the main Star Wars line that was rebooted, we've got the Bounty Hunter series. So we actually have some comics. I'll tell you what, man, if you wanted to jump down some comics, we could do a big comic episode.
I'm up for that. Growing up, we were really never all that into comics.
We really weren't.
And I don't know why, other than just we weren't in comic shops all that much. I think we would have been total comic nerds if we were around it more. But I would kind of like to become one. Going through this little story, it's enjoyable, Yeah. Kind of nice just to have a little tiny appetizer of Star Wars.
A little bite-sized, nice artwork, a little bite-sized story.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one thing about books. You never get that visual aspect of it. You kind of have to come up with your own stuff. So it's kind of nice to be able to shut your brain off a little bit more, not have to imagine as much. Let the author do it for you.
Agreed.
So there was one more thing we kind of wanted to bring up here. We kind of talked about this before the episode. And it's kind of, I don't want to say theory, but just kind of, I'm getting this feeling in my gut. So Disney parks, Galaxy's Edge, all that. We've kind of talked about this. There's going to be some changes, all that. But what's one thing that is kind of an obsession in all the High Republic content?
Luxury liners?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're gonna see No, I mean Starlight Beacon has been an obsession, and I get it's kind of like this focal point. Things are happening around it, all that. It's something that's a big deal. It's going to help with the hyperspace lanes, all that stuff. Yes, but we hear so much about it, and just in this book, a young teen's novel, why do we need to hear about Starlight as much as we are? I mean, yes, it's part of the story. We're going to it, but it talks about it more than it needs to. The comics do. Why the Jedi was obsessive about it. I kind of feel like we're going to see a little piece of the park turn into a Starlight Beacon zone, kind of like the Spire was.
And when you talked about that, it does make sense. Like it really does make sense that is something that could happen. And we had talked about this maybe last week a little bit, where I don't think that the park has been as big a success as Disney would have liked. It's very cool. Obviously, I would have liked to have gone, but we had pandemic.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if adding on would be the right business move. Because I'm just going to say this. I don't think Black Spire inspired as much people as they would have wanted. So now you're going even more like with another obscure thing with Starlight Beacon.
Yeah. I mean, the people that actually read Star Wars content compared to have watched the movies and the TV shows,
yeah,
we love our books, but we're kind of a minority.
Yep.
You talk to a casual fan, they don't know what Starlight is. They don't know what Black Spire is.
Yep.
They don't know any of that stuff. They want Jabba's palace. They want Mos Eisley, stuff like that. I just don't know how big of a hit it's going to be. And truly, what are you going to do in Starlight Beacon? You're going to have activities that are going to have nothing to do with Starlight Beacon just to make it entertaining, because there's really nothing about it in the concept that invokes theme park.
Yep.
What do you do? Are you going to be on a computer dealing with communications and hyperspace lanes?
It'll be the new, you remember those commercials when we were kids, like the NASA, like space camp thing? It'll be like the new space camp. You send in your tokens and come to space camp at Starlight Beacon. You'll learn how to twirl stuff and like science projects and stuff. I don't know. We'll give you a jetpack.
Figure out hyperspace travel due to Starlight Beacon at Disney. 100 years from now, that's what happens.
Yes. That's exactly how it'll happen. Oh, man. I don't know. We'll have to see, though. But that does make sense. I will say that it does make sense.
Yeah. All right.
One thing I'm going to say? Have we heard much from Delilah Dawson recently?
No, I don't believe so.
Because she was Black Spire. She did the Black Spire book. Has she authored anything Star Wars lately? Sorry, I mean, it's just kind of like a random thought, but we had talked about Black Spire. I don't know that we've really.
I don't believe it.
I want you to click the name so I can see what you have, you jerk. Fine, I gotta double click other things. Because she did Black Spire and Phasma, but doesn't look like it. I wonder if they're gonna use her again for any books.
Yeah, no, there's nothing. Huh.
That's a shame.
Yeah, introduce some cool characters. Kind of disappointing.
And maybe they'll get her back out there. I don't know. I mean, I know she wasn't like a part of like the whole.
Like it was 5 years ago or anything. There's still a chance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know she wasn't like a part of the whole High Republic panel thing, but I just kind of wondered if because we hadn't really seen anything from recent. Anyway, well, I think that's pretty much all we have to say for today. Obviously, there will be more High Republic content as they release it, and there are quite a few things on the way for release. So make sure to follow us on all the good old social media that we kind of use. Twitter at TC Plan Podcast. Find us on Facebook, or if you just want to send us an email and maybe tell us what you thought about the book or give us any ideas for future content, that is tcplanpodcast@gmail.com, and we will, maybe take a look at what you got and respond to it. Maybe talk about it on the show. Who knows? We're crazy. Maybe. You never know what'll happen. But
we're crazy to interact with you.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's that's about all for today. So hopefully
that's all, folks.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.